Hey! Welcome, everyone. Massive welcome to you all. This is Craig, and with the beautiful Danielle Simpson. Say hey, Danny.
Hi.
Me and Danny were obviously just chatting as we went live. This conversation could go absolutely anywhere. Massive welcome to Danielle. So whether you're listening to our Passion to Succeed podcast show, or this is streaming live into our Passion to Succeed community, a massive welcome to you all. I'm super excited about today because one of the things that really, I believe, sits at the foundation of everyone's success is our mindset. And Danny has recently and massively successfully launched this brand new book, The Mindset Mission. So I want to talk to you about that, Danny. I don't know where we're going to go today, but just very quickly, Danny, you and me connected on a training some point in about, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe, was it?
Yeah, it was about 6 months ago, and you came in as a guest speaker to the Mums in Business training. And instantly I was like, wow, his energy is amazing. And then obviously you had published your book too, which I was just in the sort of process of publishing mine. So I was like, oh my God, cool. I'd love to chew his ear off about that. And then we just become best friends.
That's where we are. And Danny's dancing in the morning, right? When you connect with Danny on social media, because you guys will want to after this podcast show, just some of the fun and the energetic vibe that she gives off is really one of the reasons I think we're very much kindred souls with this passion to make a difference. So yeah, I'm really, really super excited. So if you're listening to the podcast show, or even if you're on YouTube, make sure you get involved, like, comment, hit the subscribe button, share the love, because I think we have a responsibility to have a ripple effect of influence, a ripple effect of change. And mindset is absolutely everything. And when I look at you now, Danny, and from obviously how I've met you and obviously know you from our conversations, although we've not actually physically met yet, you've just got this amazing vibe, this energetic smile that just radiates positivity. And obviously you've launched this fantastic book, which I really loved reading when I went to Spain, I don't know, May, June time. And but it's not always been like that, has it? You've obviously you've been on your own journey, and I know in the book you talk about this in a bit more detail, and I don't want to go into too much because I want to kind of hide a little bit from people, but you talk about how you was lost at some point. Tell us a little bit about how that felt, really.
Yeah, definitely. So 2018 and 2019, it sort of in the book I literally call it the shit hitting the fan. That's the title of the chapter. Just because, everything I had previously been working towards and everything like that, it all ended, and I had to move back home to look after my two little sisters. And from that experience, we then had a fatality in the family and stuff like that. And then from that, I just sort of started spiraling massively out of control, because I'd lost who I was, as in I didn't have the job that I had before. I was back home living with my dad and my sisters. So obviously the environment would completely change. And I just felt that I'd completely lost my identity as who I was as a young adult. And then I started really separating myself from friends, because some friends were getting married or buying houses. And I just felt that I was sort of like the black sheep of the group, taking so many steps back. And then in my head, my self-limiting beliefs were just like, well, everyone hates you because you're not succeeding. You're not, moving forward. You're going backwards in life, which is, obviously not what was happening at all. But basically my unkind mind just got the better of me. And I just spiraled massively out of control.
Yes, it's amazing. I know, you mentioned black sheep. And do you think that at some point in everyone's life, they will go through that feeling of maybe feeling the black sheep of their family or the black sheep of their environment? Because I know I certainly have in the past, and I just wonder if that's almost an inevitable feeling at some point for somebody.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like with society, nowadays as well, obviously they sort of have a sort of roadmap as such as what you should be doing. So I feel like if you're not ticking off, society's checklist, then you probably will feel like a bit of a black sheep and an outsider, when actually your journey's your journey. So it doesn't really matter how quick or how slow you do something, or if you don't do it at all. Do you know what I mean? For instance, we were just talking about buying houses. I don't even know if I want to buy a house. Like, I'd much prefer to use all my money and buy loads of coconuts in Thailand or something. Do you know what I mean? But society says you have to buy a house and da 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 da. So yeah, I suppose throughout everyone's life, at some point they feel like a black sheep. Yeah.
I wonder how many coconuts you could have in comparison to buying a house. That would be one truly epic lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this morning. I think, we often hear, don't we, we're born with feet, not roots. We're not trees. And, I was thinking like, well, roots really are our experiences and our memories of every, wherever we've lived, but we get the opportunity to move and flow wherever we want to go, I guess.
No, 100%. And I feel like, especially with obviously lockdown, it's taught people that they can totally do their job from anywhere, really. So you don't have to stay where you're at to do your job and to, survive. You can do it from anywhere, which I think is epic, that we've sort of gone massively online now, that we can do anything from anywhere.
Yeah,
so we just need the gates to open so we can get out.
Indeed. I know you talked about unkind mind, and I'd like to come to that in a little bit. To think that's, obviously we're our own biggest critics, and I know you've definitely got some tools and some strategies to share with people today. But I mean, obviously you went into that, the shit happened, hit the fan, as you said, and you went into that kind of, going kind of backwards and almost going, roller coasting in the wrong direction, I guess. What was like the trigger for change? Because I think there's always something where there's a trigger point where it kind of either inspires us or the pain, takes us into action. What was it for you? What was the change that, when people look at you now, like, 'cause I think like you got it together, you're a successful author, you're passionate about coaching and supporting other people. I know you run coaching workshops, and you're really having a massive influence in relatively such a short space of time, I guess, from when you made that decision. What was the trigger point for you? Because I think people probably sometimes have them, but look over them.
Yeah, no, definitely. So for me, definitely it was, so at the end of 2019, I went through a breakup. Quite a surprising breakup for myself. I didn't really see it coming, but also I probably had my head up my arse, so it probably was signs, but I just weren't looking. And yeah, that breakup, I hate Christmas anyway. I've always been a Grinch around Christmas, but I think that's from being like a divorcee child and being shipped from here to there and blah 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 blah. So it was close to Christmas, the breakup happened, and I was just literally saying to myself, like, what is the point of my existence? Like, why am I here? What is the effing point, basically? And I remember like talking to one of my friends, Sarah, and I was just like, I was driving down the road at the time, and I was just like, I could very easily just let the car do whatever it wants. I was like, that's how I feel. I was like, I know this is a massive issue, but that's just how I feel. I was like, I just don't see the point. I don't want to be here anymore. So anyway, she obviously, lovely girl, listened, didn't give her opinion on, like, she gave her opinion, but not like a judgmental opinion as such, just made sure I got home safe and all that jazz. And then I just said to my mum, I was like, I'm really sorry, mum, but I can't pretend to be happy at Christmas, like pretending, that I'm so grateful for the socks that I've got from Primark. Like, no, I'm just not interested. Like, I just want to go away. So I decided to book a last minute trip to Amsterdam, completely on my own, with a company called Contiki. So I think there was like 14 of us who went a coach trip to Amsterdam, and I just absolutely loved it because I didn't have to worry about anything else, anyone else. Because at that point I felt obviously a lot of pressure looking after my little sisters full time. And I just thought, you know what, this is an amazing time for me to just focus on me. And also I felt comfortable sharing how I felt. Like, no offense to any of my friends or my mum or family or whatever, but every time I would say something, they would kindly give their opinion or, tell me something that's going on in their life. Like, oh, you shouldn't feel like this because so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And I write that in the book. Like, sometimes I think that's why coaches are so valuable as well, because they literally sit there like a rock and just listen. Whereas, I'm not saying that, friends and family do it on purpose, because they don't at all. They're obviously just trying to, either validate what you're saying or listen or show that they're interested, so they speak. But sometimes it's just better for somebody to just not say anything at all and just let you vent and get it completely off your chest. And that's how I felt in Amsterdam. Like, these strangers, bless them, had drunk Danny just pining and crying about her life, but it was such a release for me. So when I come back from Amsterdam, I was like, okay, my life isn't, that pathetic. I've got to change. So I basically used 2020. I said as a New Year's resolution, this is the year that I focus solely on myself, because it's not selfish, because that's another thing I had in my head. I always said, oh, it was selfish if I don't, if I focus on myself rather than everyone else. But I just decided 2020, no, I'm going to be selfish and focus on myself. And then obviously we went into lockdown. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because it meant I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to worry about my sisters, because they was literally upstairs in their room on their iPads. So yeah, I just had all the time in the world to focus on myself and really, invest in myself and change my mindset around. So yeah, I know it was crap for everyone, but it was actually a really nice time for myself.
No, it's funny. I think it was tough for everyone, but I think if people really look back, that there's gonna be some positivity. I mean, we often hear there's always silver lining behind the clouds, isn't there? And I think if you look hard enough, and I mean, obviously you can look back with gratitude, and I think everybody can, however challenging and mentally challenging it may have been, there will have been moments of gratitude for people to focus on, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned obviously about focusing on yourself, and I know this is something that people probably don't do. For genuine nice human beings, I think it's typical to do more for others than we do for ourselves.
Yeah,
I know that's not the case for everyone. What's your thoughts on serving yourself first? From a philosophy, I remember a really good friend of mine, Danny, said many years ago, his dad gave him a bit of advice. He said, you can't help the poor by being poor. Because you have these visions of, charity and investment and stuff. So obviously serving yourself first. What's your thoughts on that kind of philosophy and mindset?
Yeah, so I never really realized obviously beforehand, but it's so important, because obviously the more you focus on yourself, 9 times out of 10, the happier you'll be, which then is a ripple effect, like you said earlier, but it's a ripple effect to obviously your family, friends, social medias, everything. And I like to use a bit of an analogy with some of my coaching clients. You would never pour a glass of wine with an empty wine bottle, because obviously you get nothing in the glass. So I don't understand why we always think that we can, run on empty constantly. And, it might be something really simple, like running yourself a really nice bath and just sitting there with some candles, romanticizing your life up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Or it could be actual, working out and eating healthy, making sure you're, hitting your macros and all that kind of jazz. Or it could just be 5 minutes in the morning reading a book, but doing something that you actually enjoy and making sure that you're filling up your wine glass with wine, to make sure that then it ripples out to everyone else. Because I obviously, where I was in such a down, deep depression, basically, I was just snappy and horrible, and didn't want to spend time with my sisters. Every time they'd ask me a question, I'd bark back. I wasn't eating great. I was drinking, not loads, but I was drinking more, and just completely, sabotaging my body and my mind even more so, because I was in such a deep hole. Whereas once I started changing that and started working out again on the regular, eating better and, meditating, reading, just expanding and focusing on myself, then instantly I just become a little bit more enjoyable to be around, which nobody wants to hang around with a moody person. So focus on yourself.
No one wants to be around a grumpy shit, do they? Let's
be
honest. So I've got to ask you, red wine or white wine?
Oh, red wine always.
Okay, seafood or steak?
Oh, can I have a surf and turf?
Oh, greedy, love it.
Yeah.
Gin or vodka?
Oh, gin.
Ah, there we go. Anyway, I don't know why I was asking you that. Just for the So it's good to get to know you a little bit more. So look, let's talk about a couple of things that were really, really big for you. Firstly, why the book? Where did that come from? Why did you have this desire? We often hear everyone's got a book in them, but why?
So basically, when I started my focus on me journey, I invested in a life coach, and she introduced me to the tool of journaling. just getting everything that was in my head down on paper. And then from that, I decided to make it a little bit more exciting for myself rather than Dear Diary, I still hate my life. So I decided to characterize everyone, obviously making me super glamorous and, anyone who was mean to me, super horrible. And I basically started writing my life as a story.
Wow.
And then I changed over, I think it was in the June time, I changed over to a group coaching program. Just because I thought I sort of got to like a bit of a stagnant with a one-to-one coach, and I wanted to be in a group with like-minded people and stuff and just meet new people. So anyway, I went into this group, and one of the life coaches in there, her friend is a publisher. So I told her about my journaling style and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh my God, you need to meet Sean. And I was like, oh, don't be silly. Like, he's not going to be interested in my crappy little life. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't be silly. Anyway, had the meeting with him, and he was like, I absolutely love it. However, it needs to be written like fiction, not non-fiction. And I was just like, absolutely not, because then everyone's going to know it's my crappy little life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, no, I can't do that. Anyway, I think I battled with that decision for a good, I don't know, I think it was about 6 to 8 weeks. And then in the end, I was like, you know what? This guy obviously knows what he's talking about. I'm going to have to rewrite the book. So then we started late August, and I had to rewrite the whole book. And this is the book that you have today, The Mindset Mission.
And it's a fantastic book, I've got to say. And I know, obviously, after meeting you, I invited you to come onto one of our team things. And I know a lot of the team really resonated with you, and you had a huge impact on them, not just on that night, but I know copious amounts of the team members have got your book. Leaders were buying copies of your books to send to their team with little messages. But it really did impact me. And I remember telling you at the time, it's just fantastic, impactful, simple to read in the form of it captures your imagination and keeps you reading. Sometimes books are tough to read because they don't have that, and yours certainly does. So thank you. The second big thing, so I know obviously I was a little bit gutted because I was unable to make it, but you had this amazing book launch. How did that go? Because obviously you didn't go small, you went big, right?
Well, to be fair, throughout the whole process of writing the book, this idea of this book launch, I was like, okay, it's a massive achievement, and I'm not the first person to ever say like I'm proud of something that I've done. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember at university on graduation day, I was the first in the family to graduate or go and graduate, and I remember like just standing there, just like not bothered, and my mum was like, what's wrong with you? Like, you've massively achieved something here. I was like, everyone goes to university, mum. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, they don't. And I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, they're great, whatever. So the book, I don't know, I felt like it was sort of like, well, it sounds a bit silly, but me birthing my baby. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, right, it's only 110 pages, but it's my little baby. So I wanted to celebrate that, and I wanted everyone to celebrate, because obviously we'd had such a crappy year. So yeah, it was really important to me that I had obviously all my close friends and family there, and we all just had a really good time. So yeah, it was really special, really, really good night. And we had it up London on a rooftop, and yeah, it was really nice. Lots and lots and lots of champagne. So you definitely missed out.
Yeah, it did really look epic. So I'm glad it went really, really well. So obviously the book's been really successful. I know you've hit some milestones with the take up and the copies that are in people's hands around the world, which is really good to see. But let's kind of get into the kind of the book itself, but more your mission, because obviously it's called The Mission Mindset. What is your mission? What sits at the heart of what you're doing now? Not just with the book, because obviously you've written your story, you've had massive impact. You're only just really starting that impact as it grows, but you're really expanding that to really have a wide impact. What's the mission behind it for you?
Not the first draft of the mission, but the reason why I wanted to write the book is because the NHS at the minute is just so stretched that they're sort of not neglecting, that's the wrong word, but they don't have the resources to help with mindset. And I'm a perfect example. In November 2018, I went to bereavement counselling because that's what I thought, was wrong. I was in like grief, still in grief from my stepmom. anyway, so I went to that in the November. I got put on a fast track list, and then it wasn't until August 2000. August 2000. No, rewind. Okay, so November 2019. Sorry, I'm getting my years mixed up. 2019, and then August 2020. That's when I got my call to say, "Oh, we're ready for you now." And I remember receiving the call, and I was just like, what? Like, do you know what I mean? I came in November. Like, what is going on? So it was sort of my mission to write a book that, like you said, is easy to read. It has the tools there. So if people are struggling, they can pick up the book. They can try some of the tools. I'm not saying that I'm, going to save the world and nobody's ever going to need the NHS again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's sort of like not a stopgap, but at the same time, a bit of a stopgap to keep you going until you finally get your call or so. And then, from that, it's obviously grown a bit more, because then as I was writing the book, I was like, right, well, what if these people come to me asking me for more support, meaning coaching or, just wanting to talk it out? Yeah. I wasn't qualified when I was writing the book to be able to support them. So then I was like, right, no, I need to go get my qualification in coaching just in case they obviously need another stopgap, meaning me, before they get that call from the NHS. So now I'm a qualified mindset coach and meditation coach as well, because meditation's helped me massively, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. I'm just now sort of building my business and supporting people. But the mission really is, if you're feeling lost, if you're lacking confidence, if you don't really know what you're doing anymore, then let's work it out. Let's find out where you need to be going and what your potential is, because nobody, obviously I did, but nobody should feel like throwing in the towel. And I don't want, if you do feel like that, I want you to come talk to me and get it out, rather than drive into the centre of reservation or, do whatever else you're going to do. So
yeah, love it. What a wicked mission. Somebody's asked, questions just popped up from somebody watching live today. Loving this is the comment. I'm always thinking of others before myself. Is that a good or a bad thing? Is the question.
Well, it's a bit of both. It's obviously a really nice thing and a really good thing, because it means you're caring. You're probably really empathetic as well, which is great. But at the same time, you are your biggest cheerleader. Your body, your mind, it wakes up for you every single day. So you should love and respect you as much as you do others. Scratch your own back before you scratch others.
Love it. Thank you. So let's, obviously environment is everything. So we'll talk. I know you're doing your workshops, your coaching workshops now, which I believe are going really, really well. So we can delve into them a little bit. But let's look at obviously the key tools that you talk about in obviously the book that have worked really well for you, with a view to obviously, as you said, that stopgap, but even to be even more than that, to help people with their mindset, to develop maybe that inner strength, to believe in themselves, the possibilities that lie within them, etc. So what are the key tools that obviously you're really focused on that are impacting, not just within the book, but in your coaching workshops?
Yeah, so talking's obviously the big one. I'm loving at the minute that everyone's sort of now becoming a little bit more open about talking about, how they're feeling, and if they're feeling vulnerable, and, just being authentic and stuff like that. So I'm loving that it's not a trend, but it seems to be a bit of a trend, like popping up now, which is great. So yeah, talking is massive. And again, like I said before, like talking to the right people. I'm not obviously saying shut down to all your family and friends and don't tell them anything. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, just make sure when you are sharing personal or, problematic situations, that you're sharing it with the right people, and that they're just going to listen basically and not, give their opinion. Meditation, like I said, that completely changed my mindset massively. Just being able to actually physically calm, first of all, becoming aware of what I'm thinking was a massive eye-opener for me. And then obviously, as I've now turned it into a habit and a practice, calming down my mind and being able to calm down quite quickly is a massive benefit. So meditation is huge in the book and is huge in my coaching practice. And then journaling. If I hadn't have learned that tool, and if I hadn't embraced it so much, then we wouldn't have a book. So journaling is huge. And I still do it daily. I actually wake up and just empty my mind, and then throughout the day, if something comes up, I'll obviously journal on that. And sometimes I'll have to rip pages out and burn them just in case somebody else sees them, but that's also a really nice release.
So just on journaling, because I think it's become very popular, but how do you stay consistent with that? I mean, do you think like people have this inner civil war with journaling, kind of like almost like you were talking about before about, oh, it's just my life, what would people be interested in? It's a different kind of level, but it's almost the same mindset of what's the point of journaling? What are the key points to it, and why should people overcome any fears or challenges?
Well, I like to think that once I've written down whatever is in my mind down on the paper, it's now the journal's responsibility. Like, it doesn't have to stay in my mind anymore. Obviously, if it's important, it gets a highlight and it gets a bit of a post-it note being like, come back here. But I like it to think that it's sort of like a, like an organization mind thing. Because there's nothing worse than having a cluttered mind, which is also a chapter in the book. But what I mean by that is like you have so many things that you've got to do, and then actually you forget half of them because you haven't written them down. So it's kind of like, journaling. Well, it could be looked at like a shopping list. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone probably still writes shopping lists going into the shops because you know what you need to get, right? And sometimes you don't remember. And obviously there's so much distraction nowadays, like social media, children, traffic, radio, like everything. Do you know what I mean? There's always something going on. So I think getting it down on the paper, it just releases whatever's going on in your head down. And then obviously in the book, I have loads of different ways to journal. And like one of them that I absolutely love and I sort of created really is called comparison journaling. So I mentioned it before, but when you've got like self-limiting beliefs, so one of mine was that I'm just unlovable, like nobody loves me. And obviously over the years, you collect evidence basically backing that little story up. However, when I started writing down like I'm unlovable, and then I'd write down like why I thought that. So, for instance, like mum and dad divorced. So clearly my dad hates me because they divorced. It's got F to do with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just 8 years old and part of the family breaking up. That's it. However, as an 8-year-old, you don't see it like that because you're 8. So you're just like, oh, well, dad's left, so he must hate us all. Not that you hate my mum, but do you know what I mean? Like, you don't process information very well as a child. And then obviously, every relationship I've been in has ended. Oh, clearly it's me. So then I started like writing down everything, but then next to it being like, what I'm saying to myself, is that truth, or is that me talking absolute BS and just clutching at straws here, basically saying that I'm unlovable, when actually, of course, I'm bloody lovable. Look at me. Do you know what I mean? I'm amazing. I am amazing. So I just started basically calling myself out on stuff. Another one obviously being that, I was the black sheep of my friendship group. Not one of them have ever said that to me. However, in my head, well, everyone hates me because I now live back at home and I have 2 children that are not mine, and I don't have a job. And do you know what I mean? Like, and I was just like, this is all me in victim mode telling myself these things, and it's not true. So I basically just started, writing down what is truth and what is not. And then, so journaling is the way forward, guys. Write everything down.
No, I love that from a comparison perspective, and because I think a lot of people, obviously the stuff we say to ourselves politely, is often, a lot of BS, overthinking, and sometimes we've just got to have that paradigm shift, which is obviously from the comparison perspective, looking at, the polar opposite to that negative thought and almost trying to crush it and remove it from your mind and, even burn it.
Yeah, definitely.
As you stated. I wonder what you're going to write in your journal today. I had this most amazing podcast interview with this insanely awesome guy.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a picture of that.
Okay.
But anyway, jokes aside, so journaling and obviously as a tool's really made a big difference to your meditation. I know we were talking briefly about that pre-jumping online. What other tools are really, really relevant then for people to keep on task? Because again, you mentioned all the noise. So there's all this noise. So you can start, obviously getting into a routine is not easy because you've got an abundance of noise stuff going on that can always pull you off off track? What are the tools are in
Yeah,
place?
definitely. So just to sort of touch upon what you've just said then, there's a chapter in there all about reading, which you'll probably think, why are you talking about now, adding another thing to your daily noise and whatever. But I read an amazing book called The Miracle Morning by what is his last name? Elrod. Yeah. And basically, he's obviously trying to encourage everyone to get up at 5 a.m. Sorry, Hal, but it's just not happening. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can get up at 7 and still do everything that you're telling me to do before the school run and stuff. But he's basically saying, like, it doesn't have to be a 4-hour focus on yourself practice. Do you know what I mean? It could literally be half hour, being like 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes meditation, I don't know, 10 push-ups or whatever to get your blood pumping. But basically, bite-sized pieces that you can fit into your day to then obviously start your morning off great. And I read that book and was like, oh my God, like, I love what he's saying. Like, let's, you know, sort of incorporate that into my life. And, you know, hand on heart, I don't get up at 7 o'clock every single day. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes if I want to sleep in, I sleep in. But at the same time, I have a checklist, and I actually created an accountability calendar to go with the book. And the first 50 people that bought my book got sent a copy of the accountability calendar. But basically what that is just monitoring all of your self-development tools that you're doing. And then if you do have an off week, you can look at the calendar and be like, oh, well, actually, I haven't meditated, I haven't journaled, I haven't read a book, I definitely haven't worked out. Do you know what I mean? And then you can sort of see a pattern that maybe you're being a bit moody because you're not focusing on yourself, or do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying, you know, sometimes life is going to get in the way and you are going to have a bad day. I completely understand that. But having these tools like sort of in your locker, so then you can refer back to them when you do have a bad day, it sort of just snaps you out of the mood and bounces you back. Which there's another chapter in the book called Mood Boosters. And in there's loads of fun things that you can do to basically shift your negative mood and become positive.
You know, I love that you brought up this kind of 5 a.m. club BS, because I think, you know, with all the noise out there, you can almost be, you know, put into a box that, you know, I know another friend of mine was talking about this on something recently, and you can almost be, you know, put in this box. Well, I can only be successful if I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But it's the biggest block of BS, because it doesn't matter what time you get up. You got the same 24 hours every day. Yeah. So, you know, it's some people are obviously more, you know, more morning related. Some people are more nocturnal. Some people switch from day to day. But I think, you know, as long as you're getting up and you've got your own routine that makes your heart sing, that makes you vibe, and that has you on focus to go about, you know, having the best day ever, I think is really, really important. So I think the 5 a.m. is, for me, a load of BS. To somebody else, it might be exactly what rhymes with them.
Yeah, 100%. I just feel like, especially like into winter, like nobody wants to get up and it still be dark. Like, I just don't. Only reason I'm getting up at 5 a.m. is if I'm getting on a flight. So,
right. You know I was just about to say that. It's the only time you're either going to bed or getting up to go on a plane, right? That is the only time be seen. No. So not that I can get to 5 a.m. anymore, because like it just.
Oh God, no.
Then partying days, they kind of disappeared when I hit 30. That's for sure. So not that
long ago. Okay, yeah,
sure. Yeah, wicked. So reading, and then I know there's a real big sort of focus on gratitude in the book, and we mentioned this briefly earlier. I'm not even sure whether we were online or offline at that point, but you know, being grateful, I think, is massive. How do you kind of practice gratitude on a daily basis, and what's your, you know, how should people practice gratitude?
Yeah, so obviously Oprah says it best, doesn't she? But basically, the more grateful you are, the more experiences are gonna show up in your life. But yeah, really, I just through journaling, it is really just my go-to. I write down, to be hand on heart, to be honest, I haven't actually done it this week, but previously what I would do is I would write 3 things that I'm grateful for the beginning of at the beginning of the day, but what's going to happen. So like sort of pre-writing my destiny, and then 3 at night being like, did I achieve whatever I wanted to achieve, or just anything that nice happened throughout the day, just be grateful for. But yeah, really focusing on, you know, what you do have, which was mad when obviously I was in such a dark space because I literally thought I had nothing, when actually, you know, from an outsider's point of view, my life looked pretty sweet. So when you change your perspective and actually start being grateful for like small things, like I'm grateful for having a car, being able to drive to my PT session today. I'm grateful I can afford a personal trainer. Do you know what I mean? Just like starting small, and then obviously you can start, start small, basically.
I love your honesty as well, though, because look, no one's perfect, and everyone's going to have days where they're really vibing, and other days where, you know, things maybe derail them, and this is where we can beat ourselves up. And I know personally, like even today, like not today as in literally today, but even like now, I will beat myself up sometimes where like I'm like, you've lost the plot today, like that kind of vibe. But that's okay. You just have to breathe and get back on track, right? Is there any tools? I know I mentioned you just have to breathe it, but is there anything that, you know, when things get derailed, without stressing about it, just is there anything that's worked for you, or that you would advise for people to just kind of breathe and get back into flow, I guess?
So recently, obviously with the book actually coming out into the world, it's been quite a triggering process for myself, because now, you know, like cute little, I have a book, but nobody can read it yet. Like, do you know what I mean? I was in this like safe bubble as such. And then the second it got shipped out, obviously now everyone can give me their opinion and their views. And, you know, some hasn't been as positive as I may have wished. Lots have been positive, and everyone that has sent me a positive message, I love you so much, honestly. But obviously you are going to get some people that don't agree with what you've got to say. So it has been really, really triggering. However, I have basically built around me an incredible support system. So I have like a Reiki practitioner that I see once a month. Obviously I love meditation, but at the same time I have a meditation coach that taught me to be a meditation teacher, that I can tap into him or his PA at any point and just have a breakdown with them. Obviously I have a life coach still, and I will always have a life coach, because sometimes you just need that person, do you know what I mean? One, for a little kick up the bum, but also two, if you are having a bad day, just to vent to in a safe like space. And then obviously my journal, literally, I know I keep banging on about it, but literally it's with me constantly, and I just write everything down. And so, you know, it's not a bad thing to lose your mind and, you know, have a tantrum like kids do it. So I don't see why as an adult we stop doing it, and then we suppress everything until we physically blow up and then, like, you know, stab someone or whatever. Hand on heart, never stabbed anyone, but not yet. But do you know what I mean? Like, if kids can have tantrums, I don't know why adults can't. And sometimes that's what's needed. Also though, like working out, I like sometimes take something that's angered me to the workout, and then I physically beat myself up with that anger. So it's just sort of channeling your emotions in a safe manner, I suppose.
Yeah, love it. I think it's not sweating it too much, isn't it? You know, I remember like some advice my mum was, and still to this day, probably my original and most inspired mentor. I remember her saying to me, like, in 6 months from now, son, will it really matter?
Yeah, definitely.
I read that, because when you're in the moment, it doesn't help. But actually, when you come out of the moment and you kind of look back, and it's.
I read something the other day, and it was like, if something's upset you, in 48 hours, if you're still really upset about it and it's constantly playing on your mind, then in the next 72 hours, you're going to have to action something to deal with it, basically. However, in 48 hours, if you completely forgotten about it, then it wasn't even a thing in the first place. Do you know what I mean? So that's quite, it's quite cool.
I think it's our responsibility as well, isn't it? You know, I think, you know, we can often blame outside influences, and I know, you know, they're responsible for everything. Even our beliefs were formed by outside influences at some point. But I think the great thing is belief, once you hit that age of adulthood and stuff, I think, you know, beliefs are great because they're a choice. So you can create a new belief at any time when you're ready to.
Yeah, definitely. So. And same like earlier, obviously I mentioned ripple effects about you being happy, but you know, if you're holding on to something and you're not releasing it, and not, then that's going to ripple effect onto everyone around you. Like, you know, we've all been there where somebody's got road rage and shouted at you. Well, what are they? I like to now think, well, what's going on in their life that they've felt the need to completely, you know, scream at me, even though I'm like an amazing driver, obviously. But do you know what I mean? Like, that's just an example. But, you know, I like to like now look at it from a different perspective. And I'm like, wow, something terrible must have happened in their day for them to like, you know, reach out and scream at me for no reason. So, yeah.
You probably looked over angry and you smiled at them and they're like,
I actually have had a situation like that. I had a guy like furious with me because I overtook him. Bearing in mind, it was a 2-lane situation. I had no idea he wanted to come to the right because he's in the left lane. So I've come next to him at traffic lights. He's gone behind me and he's literally going mental, flashing me and everything. And I was just like, is he okay? Anyway, I've like turned right. He's followed me. And then when we've got down the road's like shut off, it's blocked. So I've had to do a U-turn. As I'm doing a U-turn, he's undone his window and he's literally going mental at me because I'm in the right lane to go right. Anyway, I literally undid my window and I was like, I'm so sorry, sir. I was like, are you having a terrible day? And he was like, like going mental at me. I was like, please breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And he was like, move your effing car. I was like, I will, sir. Thank you so much. And I was just like, I'm just going to kill you with kindness.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, so kill with kindness is the best way.
Indeed. Hey, look, it's been really, really cool having you on, and I really appreciate your time. I know you're really busy, and yeah, super stoked. Obviously, people can grab your book from Amazon. And are you going to do an Audible at some point? I think it'd be great to hear your voice on an Audible, maybe. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about your coaching workshops and the best place for people to connect with you. Is that on like Instagram, maybe, or?
Yeah, so the book, you can get it on Amazon. If you're in the US, it's obviously on Amazon, but also in Barnes and Noble. And if you are in the UK, then Waterstones has it online, but a couple stores near me actually has it on the shelves, which is super exciting. So Blue Water and Maidstone now stock it on the shelves. Best way to get to me, yes, Instagram or Facebook, but I'm more on Instagram than I am on Facebook. My website is Danielle-Simpson, so very straightforward if you wanted to talk to me via there. Coaching wise, yes, we've just launched a group coaching program, so we're in week 2 this week. So the next group program will be in November, I think off the top of my head the 18th, but don't quote me. Which, yeah, I love the group programs because obviously you're meeting like-minded people, and you've got accountability buddies. We go through self-limiting beliefs. We go through loads of different tools, visualization, loads of different fun stuff. And obviously you have me coaching you throughout the whole 6 weeks. What else? Meditation. I do a meditation live class once a month. However, in the new year, there will be a meditation program coming out, so you can do it at your own leisure.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Instagram, I'll pop it in the. I'll pop it in the chat afterwards. But your Instagram.
Yeah, so it's Danielle _Simpson.
Oh, there we go. Loving life. Hey, look, mate, thank you very much for your time. It's really cool to jump online with you. Guys, get over to the subscribe button. Make sure you are absolutely smashing subscribe so you get notification of any new shows hitting iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube. And share the love. You know, we've got a responsibility to have a ripple effect of change. You know, the world is waking up to the possibilities that lie within them, around them, and before them. You know, certainly in the world of the entrepreneurialism has become sexy, and it's very much on trend. It's very much the future. It gives you the opportunity to really create your own life. And I think shifting your mindset and getting in the right environment is really, really important. And this is why I wanted to bring Danny on today, because this is a cracking book. And if you're new to personal development or not, go and grab this book if you haven't already got a copy, and go on your own journey to even shift your mindset and believe in the possibilities that lie within you, around you, and before you. So thanks, Danny. Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.